Narcissists don't inhabit the same world as the rest of us. They exist within a carefully constructed performance, a stage where they are always the lead actor. Their goal isn't to connect authentically, it's to be worshipped from afar. Marcus Aurelius understood this when he observed, "Those who pursue glory ignore reality. They only care about the audience's gaze." These individuals are consummate performers, experts in emotional manipulation, understanding precisely when to shed tears, flash a smile, or shift blame onto you. But here's what you need to know. Their facade doesn't crumble because you confront them loudly. It shatters the instant you refuse to participate in their drama. In this video, I'm going to reveal a single question that can unmask a narcissist. A question that cuts through their carefully crafted persona and exposes the void within. But before we get to that, you need to grasp the psychology of narcissism and the psychological games they've perfected. If you value composure over chaos and wisdom over emotion, hit subscribe and become part of our community of Stoic thinkers. Let's begin. But here's what you need to know. Their facade doesn't crumble because you confront them loudly. It shatters the instant you refuse to participate in their drama. In this video, I'm going to reveal a single question that can unmask a narcissist. A question that cuts through their carefully crafted persona and exposes the void within. But before we get to that, you need to grasp the psychology of narcissism and the psychological games they've perfected. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Those who exist solely for others' admiration will perish in isolation." This perfectly captures the narcissistic condition. They don't strive for self-awareness, they live for external validation. Their existence depends entirely on others' perceptions, like a flame that only burns when someone else provides oxygen. Make no mistake, they're exceptionally talented. Charismatic, convincing, they instinctively know what you need to hear. In professional settings, they claim every achievement. In relationships, they present as your ideal partner, until reality begins to seep through. As long as the admiration flows, they're generous, warm, captivating. But when their influence starts to wane, they become frigid, calculating, and merciless. They don't cherish you. They cherish the sensation of being cherished by you. You're not a human being to them. You're simply a reflection confirming their grandiosity. Seneca warned us, "No bondage is more suffocating than the compulsion to satisfy others." The narcissist is enslaved by adoration. They cannot exist without constant validation. When the applause stops, they crumble. Beneath that self-assured exterior lives a terrified child, paralyzed by the thought of being irrelevant. They dominate others to mask that terror. They construct elaborate defenses around their inner emptiness and call it identity. Here's the crucial insight. A narcissist doesn't care whether you prevail or fail. They only care that you engage emotionally. If you've ever debated with one, you understand. There's never resolution. You present facts, they counter with feelings. You offer truth, they respond with denial. And somehow, every discussion concludes with you feeling like the unreasonable one. They've mastered a dangerous technique, the distortion of reality. This is gaslighting. Their phrases sound familiar. "I haven't done anything wrong. You're overreacting. You've misinterpreted everything. That never happened. Why are you so upset? You need to manage your feelings better." Suddenly, your suffering becomes the issue. Their wrongdoing transforms into your failure. You exit the conversation questioning yourself, uncertain of reality, uncertain of your own perception. This is psychological combat at its most sophisticated. They don't attack you directly, they make you attack yourself. Epictetus said, "If someone manages to provoke you, recognize that your own mind participated in that provocation." That's the Stoic principle. Nobody can control you without your permission. Every emotional reaction is a thread, and they're holding the other end. You cannot triumph in a contest rigged for your defeat. The narcissist doesn't want solutions, they want dominance. The instant you react emotionally, you've already fallen into their trap. So how do you win? You don't. You disengage. You stop participating. I once encountered a woman who escaped an emotionally abusive marriage. She told me, "I tried tears, explanations, pleading. But when I finally became silent, he panicked. Because when you stop responding, they lose their leverage. When you cease arguing, their grip loosens. When you no longer require their validation, they dissolve." Marcus Aurelius wrote, The person who refuses to acknowledge insults has already stripped the insulter of power. That's Stoic strength, not through retaliation, but through complete self-governance. Most people fail against narcissists because they attempt to persuade them. They try to make them comprehend, acknowledge wrongdoing, or express remorse. But you cannot force someone dwelling in fantasy to perceive reality. To them, truth represents danger, because accepting truth means confronting themselves, and that's their deepest fear. However, there is a method. No yelling, no accusations, no evidence required, just one question. A question that fractures the mask. Look directly at them, composed, unwavering, and ask, "What would you do if you could never impress anyone again?" Then remain silent. Because silence will complete the work. In that instant, you've removed their essential fuel, admiration. The narcissist doesn't know their identity without spectators. They exist through others' attention. Without applause, they become hollow. Without recognition, they lose purpose. When you pose that question, you're presenting them with a mirror. But this time, the mirror shows nothing, only emptiness. And perhaps for the first time, they experience genuine terror. The terror of being insignificant. They might dismiss it with laughter, redirect the conversation, ridicule you. What kind of question is that? Why would anyone care? But don't be deceived. Internally, they're collapsing. Because deep within, they know the real answer: nothing. Without the ability to impress, they wouldn't know how to function. I once knew a woman named Claire. She fell for a man who appeared flawless, accomplished, giving, magnetic. He convinced her their connection was fate. But within months, she noticed something disturbing. She could no longer express authentic emotions. Whenever she felt sadness, he'd say, "You're bringing me down." Whenever she needed support, he redirected attention to himself, his successes, his brilliance, his constant triumphs. Gradually, Claire vanished. Fragment by fragment, her identity eroded until one day she looked at him and asked, "If nobody recognized your greatness, would you still pursue it?" He hesitated, then replied coldly, "Obviously not. Nothing matters unless people acknowledge it." That day, Claire needed no further confirmation. She finally saw clearly. She hadn't loved a person. She'd loved an illusion. Detachment isn't indifference. It's liberation. When you stop reacting predictably, you dismantle their entire control mechanism. When you don't display anger, they lose balance. When you don't need their apology, they lose the game. When you embrace silence, they're forced to confront the echo of their own hollowness. A Stoic doesn't pursue vengeance. He pursues self-mastery. Seneca said, "Seeking revenge only proves you remain injured." And Epictetus taught us, "Nobody can disturb your tranquility unless you grant them access to your inner peace." The optimal defense isn't counterattack. It's withdrawing from psychological dependency, because the narcissist only possesses power while you still crave their understanding. The moment you stop expecting anything, they become impotent. I knew a man manipulated by his partner for 3 years. She made him feel inadequate, not loving enough, not romantic enough, not devoted enough. One day he simply stopped engaging. He didn't debate. He didn't justify. He didn't defend himself anymore. And just like that, she vanished, because she no longer had a supply to sustain her. The silence had starved her fantasy, and that silence wasn't surrender. It was a proclamation of power. The next time you face a narcissist, remember, they aren't villains. They're damaged children imprisoned within the image they constructed for survival. You don't need to destroy them. You only need to stop believing in their illusion, and if you genuinely want to expose them, don't raise your voice. Don't justify yourself. Don't plead for justice. Simply ask one question. What would you do if you could never impress anyone again? That question is a mirror to their essence. And in that reflection, you'll witness what terrifies them most, themselves. They fear being forgotten. They fear dissolving into obscurity. But you don't. Because when you choose silence, when you choose to walk away rather than react, you've already achieved the greatest victory possible, victory over yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Others may deceive, manipulate, or abandon you, but you choose to preserve your soul's integrity." That is Stoic power, not through domination, not through revenge, but through self-mastery, calm, steady, unaffected. Remember, you cannot fix a narcissist, but you can heal yourself by refusing to let them define you. The moment you recognize the power of silence, the moment you no longer need external admiration, you become something they can never be, a liberated soul. Continue forward with clarity, with serenity, with strength. And if this message resonated with you, share it with someone ready to reclaim their power. Join our Stoic community.